my friends, I'm Rick, and hey, this is the Sunday after Thanksgiving of 2023. We are in Iowa, and we've got 2 or 3 inches of snow out there. It snowed last night. First snow of the season, right? Uh, yeah. I got the opportunity this past before the weather started to turn nasty to get out and get our Christmas lights and stuff set up for the winter. I'm a typical redneck. My Christmas lights stay on my house all year round. So all we had to do is go out, plug them in, make sure shit worked, and then add the other, because there's always decorations you put out. Well, a lot of people, we have decorations we put out for the yard and things like this, and it's a hodgepodge collection of crap that we have gotten, over the years from garage sales and on the cheap, and so on and so forth. But it's ours. It is what it is. So there's a couple dozen strands of lights and things that we had to go put out that wasn't out there, and one of our bushes keeps growing, so we had to extend it with the existing lights that are in it by putting more lights around the outside of it, because it gives it, so you get this multi-layered effect over time. And then, of course, there's always the chance that one of the light strands or something's broken over the year, so you unplug them, they just sit there the rest of the year. They're exposed to the weather and the elements, and whatever else might happen, like the occasional trimmings of the bushes. I try hard to not hit the wires when I do that, but so I'm conscious they're there. And like a lot of things, I'm poor, so I have a third-rate hedge trimmer, the old-fashioned electric. You plug it into an extension cord, and first couple times I used it, I was using all kinds of shit. Then it dawned on me that the switch that turns it on and off, you slide the switch up and it turns on. There's no safety function whatsoever anywhere on it, so it's going non-stop while that switch is open. And so the only safety the only safety you have is the cord. So the cord only is about 4 or 5 inches out of the handle. Then you plug the extension cord. So I've gotten used to holding on to the damn extension cord in my other hand, just in case something goes south. I can yank on it hard enough to pull the plug, because that's how you have to improvise to get around with stuff. So let's talk about something in America. We talk a big dog whistle. Hey, look at this, look at that, look at that. No, a big thing is, and it has been for years, is this concept of the deep state. What the hell is this deep state? Well, it depends on who you talk to, but growing up as a kid, and spending many years of the late 70s, early 80s, into the 90s, surrounded by lots of beer-swilling, pot-smoking, redneck farm people. And don't kid yourself, there's a lot of pot smoking going on out in the hills. A lot more than they want you to believe. A lot more common than you think it is. Anyway, so we've always grew up believing that there's some sort of conspiracy going on to keep us down, and to denigrate us and to regulate us to the ash bin of history. Now we're talking the white folk in this country. There's this, especially amongst the poor side of the country, there is this long-held belief that we're screwed, and we're getting screwed on a regular basis, and things are not right, and things are not better, and it's not hard to see it. If you look at what our grandparents were able to accomplish on what they had, and they had some rough times and some really tough times, and it was because of those tough times of their parents and their youth that our government and our population demanded changes, and significant changes were made. A lot of things were brought out. But there was always a group of people that didn't like those things. And anything that, I don't know, reeks of actual democracy and freedom, the very party that claims to be the standard bearer for freedom of Americans are the most hell-bent on suppressing people than anybody in recent record. You know, Republicans, I'm talking about you, right? Jesus, dude, you people have gotten so far off into Lulu land. And the whole time you're holding up this glorious ass freaking shield about how you're being prosecuted and how it's the other side. Everything you are accusing, the Republican Party is accusing the Democrats of doing, they themselves are doing it, and they're doing it in bucketfuls. So anyhow, let's get a little bit into this a bit. What runs the government in the first place? It's not the elected officials. That is truth. That is hard truth. The bulk of our government are salaried and hourly employees. They are paid employees. Their political leanings are not supposed to matter. You know, your personal political beliefs are your personal political beliefs, but as a government worker, you're supposed to be neutral. We're seeing this movement today, and they're being very open about vetting their own Republican sycophants to put into key positions of government power throughout the government if Trump takes office again. And I would put the caveat: if any Republican takes office, don't kid yourself. If Trump fails to to win the office, but I don't know, DeSantis does, these same ass clowns are going to push that same agenda under DeSantis. It'll be a little different, but it won't be that much different. Okay, so this little building here that's on my screen, that is Skull and Bones. It is part of a uber secret society that is established amongst the extremely wealthy of our country. And it's, if you look at the who's who in America today, both in corporate America and in the federal and state local government, specifically the federal government. So federal government, the law in this country, lawyers and so on and so forth, and the top percentage executive people of these major corporations, they went to places like this. These semi-secret societies and secret societies. So it's supposed to be this good old boy network, right? In a way, that's exactly what it's for. So they bring you in, and there's this slick secret ceremony, and there's a bunch of spooky stuff that goes on. It's meant to be spooky for a reason. It's supposed to make it mysterious and mystic and different on purpose. It's also supposed to. There's the whole concept of these. And I struggle to find a good term for them. These organizations is to introduce their youth. Because think about that for a minute. If you look, and I mean this literally, you go look at the who's who, and it doesn't matter what party they represent, because there are Democrats and Republicans both who attended Skull and Crossbones. The Wolves, I think, is another organization. There's 3 or 4 different ones that came off the top of my head when I was Googling some of this stuff the other day, and I don't know, note in here on it or not. I keep so many notes, but then I forget which notepads I wrote crap on. Alright. Okay. Not on this pile. So the point though is that this kind of organization, initially their parents and their grandparents all went to these organizations. And they're affiliated with the Ivy League universities. And there's a whole lot of conservative alt-right or whatever, that absolutely hate universities in this country, which I find it ironic considering the lion's share of them went through these very organizations and are still members of these very organizations. And so they get you in there and they introduce you to your new peers, people who are going to grow up around and either be competing with or competing against your entire lives. And you're going to be introduced to mentors. People are older people who are very experienced in whatever their chosen career paths are and their life paths are, and they're going to partake and they're going to pass on that information and that knowledge and to their the persons that they're mentoring. There's also, so they're developing connections that will be lifelong, and very important wealthy connections and power related people connections. Then there's the dogma. This is the big reason why so many conservative groups in this country are advocates of getting rid of public education. They want nothing but private education because they really don't understand what the hell they want. And at the end of the day, public education has, that's the asinine thing for me, because private education has always existed in America. It's always been there. If you have the money to afford to send your kids to private schools, you bloody well do, and you take advantage of that. There's a lot of those, but the majority of public or private schools today are run by churches. They're Christian or Catholic based, or Jewish based. They don't talk about that. There's a lot of Jewish private Jewish schools. There's one here in Des Moines. There's a Catholic school and 2 Christian schools. Right? So now you drive 60 miles outside of town, and there's a whole lot of counties that don't have any. So those poor folks in those counties are effed. So either they have the money to be able to transport their kids to where the private schools are, or they don't get to go. So they don't get to tap into those nice fat government vouchers to help pay for their private schooling. You don't get to go to those private schools because there's no private schools for them to go to. And guess what? I think that's by design too, but what the hell do I know? So you get into these organizations, and you're developing your entry into the good old boy network at this point. Most of these people go on to have careers in the military, the government, or in big business. And when they do, they become deeply entrenched in it. So you go and you go to the typical average Joe and Jane America. Average Joe and Jane in America. You graduate from high school and you do not have the finances to go to college, or you don't want to bugger yourself to go to college, so you join the service. You're encouraged to join the service. The service takes you in, and then you spend 3 to 6 years, depending on what you do, in the service, and part of that gives you additional education, and then education opportunities, i.e. the GI grant, for example. See how this line of bread comes to there? If you want to be a moderately successful young person in America, you need to follow the breadcrumb, the blueprint that they've established for you. Graduate high school, enter the military, complete military service, go to trade school or college, paid for by grants from the government because you went to service into the military. At that point, you either enter the private sector as a worker, as a staff member, or management, right? Or you enter into politics and or the government. And let's get that clear. The bureaucracy that runs the actual country, the actual government that runs the country, is a machine. It's a series of organizations of people that are not elected into those positions. Now, the heads of their departments can be appointed by the sitting president. The heads of their departments can be screwed with by Congress, just like the recent bullshit stunt to reduce Buttigieg's salary to $1 by Marjorie Taylor Greene. You know what? Somebody should reduce her salary to $1 and see how she likes it. Based on their performance, the Republicans' performances the last couple of years, I think there's some serious reviews. Their career review needs to be some reviews there going. Perhaps you need to get a wage deduction for not doing your damn job. I'm just saying, right? It's like I've said before in videos. I'm a heavy believer that Congress ought to be paid. We only got 530 odd top officials in this country. Let's pay them all $1 million a year, and then with a caveat that they cannot invest in stock markets of any sort. They cannot invest in land purchases of any sort. They can't invest any of that money outside of things like 401ks and damn IRAs, like the rest of us poor working stiffs in this country. We're going to make you millionaires, but you're not going to get to cash in on all that extra shit like you do now. Because let's face it, who spends $50 million on a job that's only going to make a couple $1 million over 4 years? Not even that. No. So you get these little organizations that crop up, and then these people join up and they get into the bureaucracy of the federal government, the rank and file of the average people. Most government workers that your postal office workers, the city works guys, a lot of them are former military. Like I said, they got out of high school, they went into the service, then they went into the government. And the government gave them a good job. If you have an advantage, that the fact that you went to that you graduated high school and you went to the service, gives you double advantage when it goes to getting jobs in the civil sector. So if you want to work as a civil servant, you're going to have a far greater chance of getting a job at the FBI than you would have had if you hadn't. And then you double and triple that chance down even more if you attended one of these Ivy League colleges or one of these top tier college universities, because you obviously was able to go there. That meant, just because you were able to go there should make you ahead above everybody else and your peers. So anybody who went to a local state college or went to a community college or something like that got the same education you did for a tenth of what you paid for it. But the fact is, you paid for that title of where you went to, and that's what's going to benefit you far more than that damn degree's ever going to benefit you. Meanwhile, it doesn't end there. There's additional groups out there, like the Vandenberg, whatever the hell these yahoos are. They get together out there in the California woods and dance around in front of a damn giant statue of an owl. Most of these people, once again, are affiliated with extreme wealth and power in this country. Another gathering of good old boys. And it's these groupings that get together who actually decide how the government's going to go and how things are going to function. Now, they ain't saying they all agree. They're not all some secret cabal with hood-wearing people with anonymity that get together and all make dark choices. And no, it's not that simple. That'd be clean. No, it's messy. It's a hot mess. No kidding about it. Everybody has different agendas, and not all the agendas are on the same page. So the key is trying to find enough pages to work together to get a book going. And we're back to that compromise thing. But so we do have this deep state, and the deep state is controlled by who? The people that sponsored these organizations, support these organizations, and try to direct these organizations. It's these people who make decisions. It's just like the Federal Society and other groups like them, right? So they have agendas, they have views on how the government should function, how America should progress, and they're very adamant about their view of that. And that's fine. That's a big part of what makes America great, is that everybody's entitled to have their view on something. It's when you start to work to force your view on everybody else at the expense of everybody else that we have a problem. Things start to go south and quicker and quicker and quicker, and not necessarily in a way that's progressive. So we have yet a third deep state element here, right? So you have these organizations who indoctrinate extremely wealthy youth of our country into the very good old boy networks, that second top tier class of people in our country, it seems. Because there seems that every day I listen to Trump run his mouth and flat out insulting the damn judges on down. And I keep waiting for them to go, look, dude, we've given you 500 chances. You flat out don't understand what you're doing, and you need to go to jail. If it was anybody else but Trump, he would have been in jail by now a long time ago for just running his mouth. Hello? You can't keep doing that. Look, judicial system, judges, prosecutors, y'all need to stomp on that dude, because I'm telling you, this isn't working, and it's working in a very bad way. And it's definitely showing. It's not giving us a glimpse. It's blatantly spotlighting the fact that there are a two-tier system in this country, people with and people without. Let's be honest. Most of us live paycheck to paycheck, even when we don't. If we have a job that's good enough that we can live month to month, we're still living by extreme budget, by other people's standards. We're still worried on a daily basis of just basic survival, which we shouldn't have to be in the world's richest goddamn country. Why are we this way? Why are we this way? So we talk about that deep state. The deep state's a legitimate freaking thing, because it's run and set up by the very people who are going around waving their fingers and crying, we got to worry about the deep state. We have to purge the swamp. Yeah? Who built the swamp in the first damn place? Who stocked the swamp? Who hunts in that swamp on a daily basis? Right? I tell you what, there's a whole lot of folks that live in and around swamps in the world, and they like living in and around swamps. They got no beefs with it. They have no intentions of ever clearing the swamp. Why would they? Why would they do that? So, yeah, when I hear the Boberts and Taylor Greens, neither one of those characters ever set foot in any of these organizations. Oh, yeah, this third group. So you have money, powerful, vast amounts of money, gives you extreme amounts of power. This is what makes people like Elon Musk such a dangerous individual, because he influences people just by being him. There are a whole lot of people out there that look at him and how successful he is, how wealthy he is, and look at him as an example of everything good about this country. And then because they're blind to the fact that he's a man and he's an asshole and he's a racist, they're willing to overlook a bunch of that stuff because he's extremely wealthy and successful. That is a problem with our society, without a doubt. So you get these operations, so like the Koch brothers. The Koch brothers have been up to their kneecaps or their earlobes in American politics for 50 plus years. I don't know what if their dad was involved in it, but I know the brothers have been into it for the better part of 50 years. Lots of their money goes into lots of government PACs. And you think about it when you talk about, okay, so somebody's running for a government job that pays, let's just hypothetically say $200,000 a year, and it's a 4-year job. So you're going to get paid $800,000 a year for that 4-year job. Meanwhile, your sponsors, your party, and associate hangers-on are going to spend $20-30 million in advertisements and other things to get you elected to that $800,000 a year job. So, when we take the $20 to $30 million your side spends, and then we look at your opponent and figure they spend about the same. So now we're talking $50,000 to $60,000, or $500,000 to $600,000, or excuse me, $50 to $60 million. Excuse me, $60 to $50 million. God damn it, $50 to $60 million goddamn dollars versus that less than $1 million freaking salary for a freaking 4-year tour. Come on, really? You have to know. Nobody spends that kind of effort and money to get somebody into a position if that position isn't going to get them payback for everything they invested in, then some. It's not about prestige for most people. It's about money. So all these billionaire people in these groups like the Koch brothers who are sponsoring all kinds of political stuff. Oh yeah, another one that should have been up here is Murdoch's and Murdoch's family. Look at the damage Murdoch's family's done in the pursuit of money. But a lot of it's also been intentional. They are in the same kind of camp that Koch is. So when you get a bunch of these people that are willing to spend hundreds of millions of dollars of their money to thwart your will, they're going to buy your politicians, they're going to corrupt your needs to their desires and laugh in your face. Meanwhile, their monkey puppet bastards are going to keep stroking your ego and fire hosing bullshit lies at you to keep getting you to believe that the fact that you're being prosecuted and you're suffering is because of the other side. Yeah, there's a deep state. Yeah, there is. And I don't know why nobody on the big screen out there, the big channels, I'm not even a channel. I don't know why anybody out there with some actual traction hasn't addressed this very shit. Nobody talks about this stuff. But it's obvious. You're born into money. Money gives you advantages. Trump would not be anywhere where Trump is today if Daddy hadn't left him a shitload of money. Daddy left him a shitload of money, but more importantly, Daddy left him Trump reputation. Trump the brand, Trump the nutty. Old Donnie likes to talk about how he, Trump the brand. That's a thing he did. No, it ain't. No, it ain't, Chuck. It's your dad come up with that shit, and I'm not sure what did his dad do before he did. Was that a self-made? Was your dad a self-made man, or did he actually get a leg up from somebody else's money to help become even a bigger self-made man? Right? Yeah. Somebody else is pulling on his bootstraps for him. Isn't that helpful? Isn't it always nice when you can get other people to pull your bootstraps for you? Right? So, the wealthy, Their kids go to extremely top-notch schools. Whether they can go or not doesn't matter. Whether they fit in or not doesn't matter. Whether they actually get good grades or not doesn't matter. They're going to graduate because daddy's money said they're going to. And they graduate, they go into work in the government, or they go into the work into corporate America, and then they get involved in even bigger organizations, secret societies, other entities who have agendas that also promote agendas amongst like-minded individuals to control you and me and the government. And that's the God's truth. It's the real truth, because that's how humans work. We've been doing this since, Adam and Eve. Since after Adam and Eve, depending on how you want to look at it. So Koch brothers is just a different element of this. So you go to work for corporate America, and then perhaps a percentage of those people will actually get directed to working at projects that promote political agendas, which, generally speaking, political agendas are driven by greed and money. It's not about society's ills and wants and how we can make the world better. It's about how I can make myself wealthier. That's how this has always worked. It doesn't make it right, but that's the way it works. So there you go, America. Give it some thought, man. Give it a little bit of thought, at least, right? Till next time, I'm Rick. You're not. All right, let's do a test. Let's just make sure we got some sound. Everything is going copacetic. I don't know, something about that headphone's not driving right. It's a little cranky.